So before we do any presentation at Royal Roads, we always acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Kosepsum and the Kwangin ancestors and families. And the land of Royal Roads was actually a place of gathering and learning for many, many generations before we came into being. So we're very grateful to be on this land. Although I will say that we haven't actually been there for quite a while. So we haven't been there since mid-March. We're all working from home right now. So with that, I always just like to mention we're all coming in through our individual internet connections. So if there's any additional AV disruption, that might be why, although we've had a lot of luck with Zoom as of late. So hopefully that won't come up. And I also just want to take a moment to acknowledge the situation that we're all still in. You know, I think we're all kind of wrapping our heads around the situation we've been in for a while, but we acknowledge at Royal Roads that people have experienced this in a variety of different ways, and different countries are in different places with the COVID-19 outbreak, and of course all the social inequities that have been highlighted through the pandemic. And we're really here about supporting the way forward, at looking at creative solutions to actually make this new world that we find ourselves in. And I'm sure many of you are interested in that, and that's why you're interested in doing your master's. So we are here to explore the Master of Global Management, and we have a whole host of people here to support you as you explore it. So we have Dr. Debora Linehan, who's the program head. Welcome, Debora.
Hello, thank you.
And Tim Kituri, who is the MGM program manager. You'll get to know him quite well. Welcome, Tim.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you.
And we also have Nic Dolar, who is our MGM grad. So we're super pleased to have him here, and he's going to be speaking a bit about his experience. So welcome, Nic.
Hey, good to be here. Welcome, everyone.
And then we also have a few people who are going to be on the back end, but you can probably see a few of them right now. So we have Tracy Summers, who is our domestic enrollment advisor. So she'll be answering questions and in the chat box. So you can keep an eye out for her. We also have Kelsey Phillips, who is our international enrollment advisor. So she's going to be answering questions pertaining to international enrollment. And then I have my colleague, Selena Kunar, who is going to be backing me up on the tech side of things. So if anything comes up tech-wise, you can reach out to her. And I'm Alana McConaughey. I'm an education advisor. I am also a graduate from Royal Roads. So I'm going to be hosting the first part of this webinar, and also you'll see me on the back end and at the end of the program, or at the end of the webinar as well. I also wanted to mention that we are going to be holding off on questions until the end. Ask questions as they come up. I know I mentioned this before, but I know probably a lot of people have popped on since then. So ask questions as they come up in the Q&A. You can make your general comments in the chat box, and we will be doing a Q&A session at the end. So keep that in mind. And just now that you know who we are, we'd love to get a sense of who's in the room with us. So I know lots of people were introducing themselves as we were waiting for the webinar to start, but if anybody else has popped on and they feel like sharing where they're watching in from, what kind of work they're up to, anything you feel like sharing, that would be great. We'd love to hear from you. And as you type away, I'll let you know what we're going to be up to. So I'm going to take you through a really brief overview of the Royal Roads experience, and we're going to dive into the program specific information. So Deb and Tim are going to take you through that, and then we're going to talk to Nic for a little bit about what his experience was like, and we're going to wrap up with the application process and requirements. So I know I say actually questions answered throughout, so questions asked throughout, we will answer them at the end. So let's see who's in the room with us. So we have Kim here from Vancouver, BC. Welcome. We have Lakesh from India. We have a whole host of other people who typed in earlier, so please look back into the chat box if you want to see who else is in the room, but we have people from all over the world. I will check in later to see if anybody else has added in there, but I am going to get going with my part. So Royal Roads, you may already know this, but we have been around for 25 years. So the university was created with a government mandate to do something a bit different than traditional universities, and that's serving working professionals. So there's a number of things that we do differently. So for instance, we go on a first name basis. So something I always mention in every single webinar is that I'm on degree number 2 and I still don't know what my student number is. And I think that that in itself is really speaks for itself. You know, usually that's something that we can memorize 10 years after we've graduated as our student number, because it's how we're known in our universities. But here it's really, people get to know each other. We want to know who you are. You're entering a learning community. Your background is really going to feed the knowledge base and help us grow as an institution. So that requires us all to be on a first name basis, which takes me to the cohort model. So we work with small class sizes. So I believe they can range anywhere from 25 to 35 in the MGM program, depending on the year. And it's really about creating a learning community, as I mentioned, about reciprocal learning, about working in groups and coming up with a better project than you would on your own, because you have people with all these different skill sets. And it's also about building relationships. So one thing that we've seen across all programs is that people come out of these programs with relationships that can really help their professional development. Maybe it's through new job opportunities, maybe it's through starting a business or doing a project with somebody you went to school with, because you're really able to exemplify your passion and your skills when you're moving through this program that other people get to see. And it's also about friendships. So there's tons of people who have made lifelong friendships that are super valuable. And especially if you're coming from abroad, you know, it's a great way to enter right into a community when you're coming from another country. And life is also an education. So this is in reference to the fact that we really focus on real skills, getting you skills that will actually take your career forward. So all of our professors are what we call scholar practitioners, and they all have experience actually working in the industry. Most of them are actually still working in industry, so they're very abreast of what's actually going on within the industry themselves, and making sure that your assignments reflect that, your articles reflect that, the type of group assignments you're doing reflect that, and there's always opportunities to actually have real world impact with your assignments. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that as we go through the program specific information. And then our real world classroom. So again, there's that emphasis on learning as we go along, getting those skills that'll take us into the next place in our professional career. And it's also about the fact that we have people coming in from all different walks of life, all different places within their professional development, and we really value learning from all these aspects of life. And I think the best example of that is our flexible admissions model. So we'll get into this a little bit later, but our flexible admissions is basically where we holistically assess people. So as an example, you might be somebody who did a 2-year diploma in business and you've been working for 10 or 15 years and you really want to get to that next level in your education, but you feel that, you know, finishing off your undergrad, you're beyond that. So we'll actually look at your work experience and your non-credential education in lieu of having a full undergraduate degree. So that's something to consider. And it also, again, adds to that, that really insightful classroom environment where people are coming in with all sorts of perspectives and expertise. And also, we are an Ashoka U Changemaker campus, so I invite you to look this up after the webinar, Ashoka U. We are about bringing our learning beyond the classroom. So again, it ties into everything I was saying about getting real skills, about having change with your degree. We're always looking for opportunities to make changes in the real world throughout your program. So we're really proud to be part of this designation. I believe there's only about 55 in North America. And just to give a sense of the actual physical landscape, it's quite a beautiful place. We haven't seen it in a little while, but it does still exist. So we have Hatley Castle. So we're actually a National Historic Site as well as a public university. So Hatley Castle was built in the early 1900s by the Dunsmuir family. They lived there for a few decades, and then the land was given over to the federal government and became a military college, which it was for 55 years. So from 1940 till 1995, and then Royal Roads came into being. So we have a very rich history. Also, we have Esquimalt Lagoon, which is actually the view from the back of the castle, which feeds into the ocean. So very, very beautiful. We have Charlie's Trail, which is a trail that runs from the top to the bottom of the university and is actually representative of a much larger forest system. So we are on 565 acres of old growth. So pretty much every direction you look, there's something beautiful. And I also wanted to highlight that we have actually been offering online learning since we started. So for 25 years. So I know for a lot of people who are used to doing on-campus campus. There's a lot of trepidation about doing online programs, but I just wanted to highlight that this is something that we've been perfecting for a long time. So I know a lot of institutions have really had to pivot dramatically to move their programs online. This is something that we haven't had to do as dramatically, though there has been changes which we will speak to, but it's something that we are very good at, and you do get that same community feel. And just to speak to that a little bit, the blended learning model. So we use Moodle, which is, in my opinion, I've used many online platforms. It's very, very easy to use. It's very interactive. You do get that community feel. There's lots of support in terms of navigating that and learning how to be an online student from the library and the computer help desk, and everything you would expect to be available to you, of course, is. And then there's the on-campus/online residency. So of course, right now, the residencies are being offered online. So these are intensives. They generally last for 2 weeks. And this is where you really come together with your cohort. You really immerse yourself in the learning. So if you're doing a blended program, you might be working full time as you're moving through the program. This is an opportunity for you to let the work go to the back seat and really focus on the learning. And it's also where you get to really bond with your cohort. So there's often some really significant projects that you guys do together. And when we do have the on campus again, you will have the opportunity to stay on campus, which is very beautiful in itself. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Deb and Tim to take it away.
Thank you so much, Alana. That was a great overview. And I'm missing the campus. It is so beautiful. And I see more people signing in: El Salvador, Nigeria, Singapore. Pratik says, go a little slower. We're not getting the speaker, so I'll try to slow down a bit. But if you can go to the next page, Alana. So imagine yourself doing business around the world, navigating diverse cultures. The Masters of Global Management is, I think, a very unique program. All of you are looking for a graduate degree that you can take into the workplace and to leverage your new learning for job skills. But when we think about navigating the globe and diverse cultures, I would say Canada itself is a very multicultural country, and the values here in terms of that is, I think, very strong. We are really changing in very dynamic ways. So when you think of international business, I think Canada is certainly on the map there as well. When you're looking at graduate degrees, you tend to think of like an MBA or even a Master's of International Relations. And I would say the Masters of Global Management combines both these things, and that makes it rather unique. It's a very academically rigorous program. So you get all the functional, course learning of, say, an MBA, but every piece of the program is overlaid with an international flavor. So now more than ever, we think about the interdependencies, the complexities. The COVID has given us a very rich learning environment from which to go forward. So yes, a business degree with an international flavor. And Tim is going to explain how it all comes together.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. And I, unlike most of us, am on campus. I just moved back into my office as of this week. We've been, as with COVID, struggling to keep a young child at home, and work has been slightly difficult to work from a kitchen table, like I'm sure many people are doing, but the campus is slowly reopening for staff. It's really good to be on the ground, and it's good to connect with you from this familiar space. And I truly enjoy this kind of conversations about Royal Roads in general and the MGM specifically, because I've been doing this for, as a program manager, I've lost count, but I've been in Royal Roads and working for Royal Roads in some capacity for just about 15 years. Originally from Kenya, I did an MA in intercultural communication here, and an online version, and I can attest to the relationships that are built through the learning platforms. And the MGM has a very, very unique space in Royal Roads and in how we deliver our programs, because we the program was, as Deb was saying, designed to bring together the two worlds of business and international relations, and it is done in a way that allows our students, most of whom are working professionals, to access a high quality education in a timeline that allows you to get back into the workforce quickly. So it is extremely rigorous. So 42 credits would normally be delivered in 2 years, but ours is condensed into a much shorter version, which is 18 months at the long end and 12 months at the shorter end. And this is for our on-campus delivery. And as well, we have a blended delivery, which is predominantly online with the short on-campus residencies, that is 19 months. And all of these are the same course content, but just delivered again slightly different for different audiences. However, now that we are online fully for our deliveries, all of our courses are still the same, delivered in that either 18, 12, or 19 months, but all online. Next slide, please. And how we layer the program. And again, understanding that the majority of our students at Royal Roads University are working professionals, and this means people coming back to a career as an academic from a diverse backgrounds professionally. So for many of our students, it's coming back from a intense work background. Some have been in school for a little bit, but again, in a very traditional model of academia, and coming into our Royal Roads model. So we start by a foundations, which is normally 2 weeks to a week online, that leads into 4 on-campus quarters. And this is the structure for our on-campus delivery. 4 quarters on campus. Each quarter you'd be doing 3 courses at a time. Each course is 3 credits. So that's 9 credits per quarter. And after 4 quarters, you'd have done the majority, you'd have done all of your coursework, the 12 core courses, and then we would split you into completion options. And there are several completion options to choose from internships to global management projects, which are the 12 the 18-month option, and also a global management project for the 12-month option. And what that would look like is, over quarter 3 and 4, you would also be doing your GMP, the global management project. So that leads to an extremely intense delivery of the program, and one we typically do not recommend unless somebody has a very, very strong academic background with significant research capabilities and a good research topic that they can jump into while doing the core courses of in quarter 3 and 4. But the structure is one that is designed for full-time dedication to coursework, and it is staggered so that everybody has the chance to adjust and adapt to the learning model and the academic requirements of the program. Next slide. And we'll the slide before just showed the structure for the blended, which looks slightly different, but it starts with at the front end a residency in Victoria, which we're now delivering online, and 3 online portions, 3 online learning, distance learning portions, followed by a second residency, which is international. And this one has been extremely interesting to work on. Our students in the last intake are currently doing their international residency, but they're at home. So we're really trying to bring through that international flavor with guest speakers from around the world. And as like all the others, we finish with completion options at the tail end. So this structure, again, is designed to give you the content, the academic content, and the completion option is where we apply that content to personalize it to your individual needs and goals. And I think the next slide is Deb's.
Mhm. So thank you, Tim. And I see there's a couple of questions about this, and Karen is saying, you know, what about completion options? So we'll chat about that briefly. And Veronica, what's the schedule that's most, you know, for students on campus would be that 18-month on-campus program. So I think what's a hallmark of the MGM program is the flexibility of it. Because of this quarterly schedule, it allows you to slow down your program if you wish, take 2 courses at a time instead of 3, or to move courses around because we're offering a lot of the courses several times a year. At the end of it, though, then you get to specialize. This is what Tim was referring to with the Global Management Project internship for which has an applied research aspect, and the graduate certificates and or courses. So I'll just talk about the main 2, the Global Management Project. If you, through the course of your program, are really taken with a particular field, a particular research question, or a business problem, and you want to dive into that a little bit deeper, this is where you dedicate yourself to research. We assign a supervisor to each student. You craft your own research project, and you learn research skills and culminate with a lovely manuscript and a really very applied research that has good application in the business world. If you, and that's 6 months generally. If you choose an internship, this is somewhat similar in that you're still doing applied research, but you're working specifically with a company, an organization to solve their problems. So in a way, it's somewhat consulting, also research, very rigorous. You're supported throughout that with preparation workshops, a career advisor, and a supervisor for the research portion of it. It's quite popular as well. We've seen students do quite well through COVID, do virtual internships, for example. There was a question earlier about do we supply jobs? No, we don't, but you'll be supported through the program to find employers and develop a applied research project. And lastly, though, if you really want to specialize in a particular area, we have up to 26 graduate certificate course programs that allow you to have an additional accreditation, and or you could also look at courses offered at the university that may be of particular interest. We've also had the opportunity to work with MIT to bring some of their courses forward as well. All of those depending on the timing of when those courses are offered. So overall, you can see there are a lot of choices, and it's just that time for you to focus in on an area that you're interested in. Can we go forward? And I think Tim will explain one accreditation you automatically.
One is, yes, the FIT, the Forum for International Trade Training, offers a Certified International Trade Practitioner designation. And this is a credential that is used by Canadian Foreign Service as one of the main domains for this credential. And it is really useful for anybody that is in international trade. And why this is of significance to Royal Roads is because an institution like FIT, the Forum for International Trade Training, recognizes all of our courses as meeting the academic requirements for this industry credential, industry designation. And that speaks a lot to the practicality of the program, the relevance of the material, and that it is recognized again by an international accrediting body as meeting some really core requirements for international trade. And I think that speaks to some of the questions around how is the university ranked. It is more recognized by industry, by professional institutions, and I think that is the strength that we bring to professionals that are going back into the organizations. Thank you.
And further to that, some of the graduate certificates that I was mentioning earlier also give you a pathway towards industry accreditation. One of the more popular ones is the Project Management Institute. So our graduate certificate in that, the PMP, prepares you to write the final exam. And it's all of these are sort of designed or lined up to meet external industry accreditation. If you're, and the PMP is very applicable to all businesses. We see projects, managing projects is a universal skill. Other domains though, if you're interested in human resources, you're interested in coaching, I think Tim is one of our, as an executive coaching program. So he went forward with his, after his graduate degree and did further education. Change management. So you can see it on the sort of the face of it, these other industry accreditations really line up to broader skills and allow you to further differentiate yourself and have more designations or accreditations on your resume. So lots of good applicability to the workforce. And if we go forward then, so I think the thing to take away here is, you know, we've got lots of flexibility, lots of choice. It's, you know, lots of academic rigor. The courses are very exciting. But we want to make your learning sustainable and applicable in the world. And so the learning outcomes are what we really focus on at Rural Roads that will sustain you going forward. We say here that, you know, lifelong learning is a common thing, and you'll see from Tim and Alana that they just keep coming back and getting more. And I'm a graduate of Rural Roads too, so what we're all heavily invested, never left. But you want to be able to have global skills to communicate effectively, think critically, solve problems, think globally. So these are skills, learning outcomes that will sustain you for many years going forward. And so another one of our sayings, if we go forward to the next slide, is that it is life dot changing. And I truly think that is the case. So in summary, it's a transformative program, lots of academic rigor, it has credibility in the workforce, an international focus, brings with it lots of additional accreditations. The graduate research is becoming a really emerging part of the program. I'm so pleased to say that 2 of our MGM students who are recently awarded MITEX research awards. And we have several students now working as research assistants with our core faculty. So that is becoming a big field for us. Both on campus and blended learning, the cohort-based learning that Alana talked about, your friends for life, that feeling, the community that you belong to. And I think what's really important to me too is to leverage your bicultural, I would say, your cultural knowledge that you have, that you bring to the classroom, that makes the learning so vibrant, but also that you bring to our Canadian society. We want you. You belong here. So that is the program overview. I just want to say, you know, people are asking in the chat room, what about jobs? It's very hard to pinpoint where you would get jobs because it's such a broad program. It really depends on your strategic focus. Here's just a few of the organizations where students are, our alumni are now working. And if I go to the next page, you know, we see a variety of roles within those positions. So there is no there's no cookie cutter approach to this. It's all very much how you want to evolve your career going forward. And this is like such a good segue into an introduction of our MGM graduate, Nic Dolar, because I think, Nic, you did a really good job of leveraging your education and your background. And I don't know, Alana, if you wanted to introduce Nic. And
yeah, so welcome, Nic. Thanks so much for joining. I am going to say we will be getting to the questions, as I mentioned at the end. And I know we have quite a few. Hopefully some of them have been answered by now. But if you do have any questions for Nic as I go along, I have some questions here for myself. But just pop them in the chat box in this instance, and I'll keep an eye out and we can ask him. So my first question is, what skills did you gain through the MGM program?
A lot of organizational skills for sure, and analysis. Being able to take a look at pretty much anything, coming from a bird's eye view, going down to the more granular point of view is very, very important as well when you get to that graduate level. Funny enough, though, I'd like to really highlight that I learned how to read and write through the MGM program, because you think you know how to read and write through your preschool, your elementary, your high school, your bachelor's and whatnot, your undergrad. Okay, fine. But the graduate level or master's level of reading and writing is very, very different. That I can attest to. The first residency in the first quarter that we had in my whole cohort, we all had the same sentiment. I thought I knew how to read. I thought I knew how to write. I don't know anything. And that's good, because the first step is to accept that you know what you don't know. You're now in the state of conscious incompetence. You know what you don't know. That's very, very important. So, and you will carry that skill with you after you graduate, and if you have your own business, and if you have, or if you are employed, you know how to approach anything, and you say, okay, I don't know this skill, I don't know this skill, I don't know this skill, I don't know how to do this. So how do I approach this coming from a very operational standpoint, wherein this is my objective, how do I get from point A to point B? It's a lot easier for you to map out the processes once you go through this program. And my cohort and I are extremely close. We communicate on a regular basis up until this day, and we graduated last year. And we still compare our skills, like how are you applying this? How are you applying that? That's another skill that you're going to have is it's keeping in touch, maybe. It's a soft skill. There is no course for that. There is no subject for that, but nevertheless, it's extremely important as well to keep your leads warm and to keep close with your contacts. I think another skill I could say is presentation is, of course, without saying, because you will be presenting a lot of the time. You're crunching the numbers, which is going to be tied in with the second question as well, because I did the research. So, but before I answer that, yeah, I hope I was able to give you a good answer with the skills that I gained through this program. So, yeah.
Thank you, Nic. Yeah, so let's dive into the next one. Let's hear about your research area and how you feel it might impact your career or has.
Yeah. The research area, as Tim mentioned earlier, that he did not recommend the global research project because it's extremely rigorous. I have no idea why I chose that option, because it is extremely rigorous. I think Tim is short selling it, Tim. You should say that you're going to go through way more than that, because it is, this was the life-changing event for me, because I did the global research project. So I did the thesis, and the title of my paper is the 21st Century Professional Canadian Diplomat, because I was really into international relations and getting in touch with the embassies and high commissions, and getting in touch with with ambassadors and high commissioners and whatnot. And I wrote my thesis, And my father had an accident, so I had to balance that, and I had to take over with running my family's business for a little bit. And I also we welcomed our firstborn, our first child. And I was also maintaining my full-time job here in Canada while I was doing all that. So don't do it, please, don't. For the life of you, do not do, just don't.
Or maybe not if you have all of those things.
If you have all of those things, don't do it. I think I'm being as candid as I can here, and I'm just injecting humor to what I'm sharing with you. I think the lesson here is, if you can do it, yes, if you think you can do it, then you can. All things are created twice. There's the mental creation, and then there's the actual tangible creation. So whether you think you can or you cannot, you are right. You are always right. In my case, I just wanted to set a good example to my family, and we can look back and say, hey, I did this, I did that. It can be done. And it was fantastic, because of course, if you have a newborn, it goes without saying that sleep is out of the question. So I even don't know how I wrote the whole paper, because I still had to interview my respondents, and my respondents were not just small-time respondents. I was extremely humbled because I had ambassadors as my interview subjects. They were gracious enough that even if they are the ambassador of France or the High Commission of French Guiana or something, or down in South Africa, they spent at least an hour with me, even if I was just a graduate student. Mm-hmm. And I interviewed them, and it was 1 a.m. my time, 2 a.m. my time, 3 a.m. my time, and it didn't matter. I still had to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to work, and go home and write, and still take care of my wife and my son. So basically, you just don't sleep. You just don't rest. That's it. And and that's it. But the skills and the information that you gain from that is priceless. It's platinum. It's more than gold, really, because if you want to pursue, let's say, the PhD or a doctorate in the future, this is the prerequisite, really. At first, I was not confident enough with my writing and my research skills and crunching the numbers and the data and the analysis. But right after this, I said, you know what? I think I can do this. So I said, if I really think that I can do this, and I can actually do this, really, for real. And halfway through the paper, I said, yes, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I thought that at first, a few months back, I thought I would not finish on time. And the result is I actually finished early, because you're just exerting so much effort into doing one thing. You're just so focused and you're so engrossed into doing one thing that you can actually get it done. How do you think this will impact my career? A lot, because I got invited to write the test for the Foreign Service exam for Global Affairs Canada. And I wrote the exam, and I wrote the test, and I scored high in the percentile because I know what the answers are, because it's my research. Unfortunately, because of the COVID, everything is just locked down and there's no movement anymore with that. But I do hope that once it opens up again, that they would reconsider my application. And writing that exam as well was an experience as well unto itself. But I could say that it was easy because I knew what the questions were. If it's about international relations and leadership and decision making, if let's say you are in a foreign country and dealing with an expatriate or whatnot, you'd know what to do. So that's it.
Wow. It really sounds to me like you went through quite a transformational experience and really pushed to the edge of with everything going on. That's amazing that you were able to balance all of that and finish early. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And I remember the celebration at Convocation.
That was something else for sure.
But just as a caveat, Nick, before you continue, what I was talking about in terms of the global management project was specifically to the 12-month option that students have the option of doing that research paper that you did concurrently with their quarter 3 and 4 courses. So taking 6 courses plus doing the research,
Oh,
which is what I think is a little bit more than would be manageable. So the 18-month means that you complete the coursework and then get into the research. So you're doing it after. That was the advice would be to stay away from the 12-month if necessary.
now I understand.
All right. Thank you, Nic.
Thank you.
Great. And that also speaks to the fact that you did the blended program. So I know it's a big question for a lot of people who are especially looking at doing the on-campus and might be doing a portion of it online. So maybe you could just speak for a moment just about if you had some concerns about doing a program that was predominantly online, and then what was your experience of that?
My experience as a whole was really good. It's not perfect. There will be challenges, of course, but overall, I'd say, I have no regrets whatsoever doing the blended program and taking it online, because of course I also had to maintain a full-time job while I was doing this. You want to take into account that if you are, let's say, an employee, or you seek to have employment, it is always easier to find a job if you have a job. So if you have a job while you are studying, and then you graduate and you still have that job, it's going to be easier for you to move up in the current organization that you are in, or you might want to move elsewhere. So for me, it was the prime option, or the prime choice for me. I think the concerns with me would be the interaction, of course, and it's different that you would get the immediate response, because that's what you're used to with your previous schooling. With your elementary and high school, you can just raise your hand and your teacher would be there. However, it's just a matter of change, really. It's change management. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just different. I was lucky enough that prior to starting the MGM program, I got my certification in change management, which my company paid for. So I said, I'm just going through change, and I did a change management analysis on what I would be doing in my personal and my private life on this, and I shared, the suggestions and the recommendations that I've had, and tips and tricks that I've done with change management with my cohort, and it has worked well for us, for sure. So yeah.
Great. Awesome. Okay. So with that, you shared a bit about all of the different elements that were going on as you went through the program. And I'm just wondering, how you did it. How did you balance both work and school and family and everything? What were your tactics?
I think I can answer that with a few anecdotes. In order for the new things to come into your life, you have to let go of the old. So you have to let go of so many things that are trivial in your life. Also, to quote one of my favorite leaders, Abraham Lincoln, if you will give me 4 hours to chop down a tree, I will spend the first 3 hours sharpening my axe. Let me repeat. If you give me 4 hours to chop down a tree, I will spend the first 3 hours sharpening my axe. So it's about planning, preparation, focus, determination. Prior to, before my wife and I were married, I actually did not have TV. When I was still single, and I was, I was living alone independently, and I did not have a TV. Reason? I could not afford a TV. That is the only sole reason. I could not afford cable. I could not afford that. So I said, well, I'd rather pay for my rent and buy food than to pay for cable or TV. I had a TV and it broke down. I said, should I buy me? No. I said, no. And then I noticed that without the TV, my life just became a lot more organized. There's no distraction. It's a time waster. It really is. I became a better musician because I play, I was actively playing in bands and doing some side recordings in here and there. And I still am a pretty much active musician. And just to show you guys, yes, I have my guitar with me here as well here in my studio. And I just became more proficient in that. So when I started, when my wife and I, we started dating and got married, she watches TV. So I said, okay, let's get a TV. Started watching TV. And then when the program started, I said, I can't watch TV anymore. So it was an easy transition for me to give up the TV. That's one of the biggest things. You might want to give up your social media as well. If you are just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and not doing anything, all of that. And there's just so many things you can actually give up in order for you to fit the masters into your life. Another anecdote: man is the intelligent animal who invented time and complains that he does not have much of it. Right? Come on. So if you are human, you can, make time for it. Don't say, I don't have the time, or where am I going to fit this in here? You make time. Don't find time. Make time. Finding the time is different from making the time. So you make the time to sit down, you write, you do your research, you do your reading. And that's how I did my research paper. I said, every day I will write at least 3 pages. That's it. After writing 3 pages, I will stop and I will take care of my wife, my son, and anything else. That's it. You just have to put, like, it's clockwork, really. If you need to use a stopwatch, use a stopwatch. I use a stopwatch when I'm practicing with my guitar for 5 minutes straight. I will just do exercises. That's it. I don't need to think about anything else. So that's what I do. So for, let's say, 3 hours straight, all I'm going to do is just write or read. So that's how I did.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm seeing we have a ton of questions coming in, so maybe I'll just ask for a few words on these last 2 questions so I can go through the application and we can get to all the questions that are being asked. But in terms of how much interaction that you had with your classmates and instructors, like, how was that experience from an online perspective? Did you still feel you had that community online?
Yes, for sure. A lot, because if you are not going to interact with your classmates, your mark is not going to be good. So you have to interact with your instructors and with your classmates online, and even offline as well. You will have a lot, even if the instruction is delivered online. Interaction really is key, because the way I see it, like, I'm an instructor myself. I'm a corporate trainer, not in the academe setting. I'm a corporate trainer. So as a trainer, I would always say that the best resource of information are the people in the class, because you have maybe 20, 30 people in that class, and 20 or 30 different ideas that they're thinking that's different from what you have, a different point of view. You want to squeeze that out from them, because that's where you get a lot of learning. It's not just the instructor, it's going to be your cohort as well. And that exchange, you will see, is going to roll over in the months and years to come. That practice of exchange of ideas and information. So you want to leverage that and maximize that for sure. So yes, there will be a lot of interaction.
Awesome. And finally, what advantages have emerged from learning online?
What you call flexibility is a lot, of course. I'm also big with reducing carbon footprint, not just for the sake of saying that, but I really am. And not having to drive, going to work or going to campus or whatnot. But I did enjoy our residency, for sure. Both of the residencies were really good. For me, it's the flexibility, because again, like I said, I have a young family, and I had to take care of, I also have parenting and husband duties as well, and I have full-time work as well. So it's the flexibility that you get from this is really good.
Awesome. And I'm also gonna, because you said this to me in an email, so I'm just gonna pop it in there about working remotely, like the increase of working remotely, and how being an online learning or having been an experienced online learner helps with gaining those skills of being able to work remotely.
Absolutely. Like, if you're already used to learning online, then working online would be just like second nature. Yeah. Especially if now with the COVID and pandemic situation, where a lot of work is now morphing into being task-based, where they just give you a task and they give you the freedom to complete the task as long as it's done within the deadline. Then that's exactly what online learning is.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. I am, sorry, did somebody want to say something? No. I'm going to get to the application process, but I want to thank you so much, Nic, for sharing your experience and everything that you went through and emerged from with all this new insight. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm sure everyone here does. So from here, I'm going to go through the application process very quickly, and then we're going to get into the questions. So I hope many of your questions have been answered throughout the presentation, but we will be touching on many of them as we go through. And there might be questions, I'm just going to say this now, there might be questions that you have that are pertaining to more your personal application and that sort of thing. And that's what Tracy and Kelsey are here for. So they will be taking those questions offline. So I'm sure they're already looking through the questions, and they will be connecting with you directly, or giving you their emails to connect with them directly. So in terms of how to apply, so for standard admissions, the completion of a 4-year or comparable undergraduate degree in a related field. So this, of course, can be many things. We will be looking for a minimum GPA of a B from a recognized post-secondary institution. We are also looking for a minimum of 2 years of relevant full-time work experience, and preferably some supervisory or management experience. But again, that can look like many different things. It doesn't mean you have to have been a manager per se, but you know, having led a project or something like that would be ideal. And then applicants who do not meet the GPA requirement, but they do have a degree, may be required to take the academic writing and critical thinking course. So that's live linked there. And something to keep in mind there is, it's actually, if you've been outside of academia for a while, it's a really advantageous course to take. You know, as Nic had said, it's that's a big part of getting into your master's, is really learning how to research and write well. So this will really set you up for success. I don't know anybody who's taken this who hasn't felt that it really put them in a good place to do well in the program. And then flexible admissions, I talked about this in the beginning of the program. So we are looking for an undergraduate, or applicants without an undergraduate degree, but they have more than 3 years, so 90 credits, and with an average below a B should have at least 4 years of relevant working experience with some management experience. So applicants with 2 years, so 60 to 90 credits, will be looking for 6 years of relevant full-time experience with at least 2 years in a management role. And then applicants with less than 2 years, so less than 60 credits, will be looking for 10 years with at least 5 years in a management role. So this is case by case, so have conversations with either our international enrollment team or domestic, so either Tracy or Kelsey, if you are looking at coming through flexible admissions, because they will be able to give you an idea of where you're standing once you share what your background is. And then in terms of key dates, so for the 12 and 18 month, we do have one coming up pretty quick on January 11th, and the application deadline is October the 13th. So if you are considering that one, I would get going on that application and get it in as soon as possible. Then we have another intake on May the 3rd, and the application deadline is February 3rd, and then another intake September the 6th next year, and that is the deadline is June the 6th. In terms of the blended program, so that's the program that Nic went through, the next intake is September 6th next year, and the application deadline is June the 6th. And in terms of applying, so there is an online application fee, $126.28, and then you can start submitting your documents. So your official transcripts need to come to us sealed from your institution. Make sure that if you haven't seen them in a while, maybe get one sent to yourself, because if they come open, we can't accept them. Your detailed resume, so this is not your typical CV. This can be a multi-page document that outlines all of your work experience, projects that you've led, non-credential education. This is going to be especially important if you're coming through flexible admissions, so really take some time with this. If you think it's at all relevant, put it in, don't leave it out. And then your personal statement or statement of intent. This is really a great exercise in clarifying why you want to come into the program, what you're hoping to bring into it, what you're hoping to get out of it. There's some questions that you can answer on the website when you look under the application tab that can help guide this. And then the 2 letters of reference, ideally one academic and one professional, but if you've been outside of academia for a while, we will accept 2 professional. They just need to come through a professional letterhead or a professional email. And then for financial aid, so we recognize this is a very important component. So if you want to get in touch with them, you can go to their website and find out about bursaries that might be available, as well as get in touch with them around tuition schedules. That can be really helpful with the planning. So there's a live link there and their numbers. This information is also available on the website. And then enrollment services. So for those of you who do have specific questions to your individual applications, this is great information for you. So our domestic enrollment team is on the top. And then Kelsey and her team are the next. So learn.more.international at royalroads.ca. And then the admissions team. So if you're wanting to check up on where your application is at, you can get in touch with them as well. So now we are in the Q&A. So I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint, and we are going to look at what kind of questions have come up. Just going to go up to the beginning here. I think this is addressed, but I'm going to ask either Deb or Tim to speak to this. So does the university help students in getting internship opportunities?
Thanks, Alana. I've started to put some answers in here. I don't know if they're landing yet. The students pursue their own career objectives because they're quite varied, but we do a prep course in getting the students ready. They are assigned career advisors. We do not assign jobs. It's not a co-op program, and I think Sagar asked this question later on, where mid-program you get some job opportunities to practice your skills, but then go back to class. Ours is a program at the completion of your courses. So no, we don't provide jobs. I don't think any university does actually, but we do help. And our students do very well. I'm quite proud of them. They do exceptionally well.
Great. So this is always an interesting question, and I'm wondering if either of you have some insight on answering this. I know I've answered this question a number of times, but can you let us know the university ranking of Royal Roads in Canada and worldwide?
Well, and again, because our program is quite unique, it doesn't fit into the boxes, right, Alana? That
we're not a traditional university.
We're not traditional by any sense, no. So we don't partake in those ranking programs. I think, we stand behind what our alumni say, and the fact that we've got, how many thousand now? 48,000? We've got a lot of alumni and a lot of return students. So I think we don't do rankings, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll speak to that as well, just in the fact that it is a more of a holistic education as a professional university. So yes, because of those reasons that we don't participate, but certainly I would say our testimonials from our alumni are probably a better thing to look into and talk to somebody who's gone through the program, which the enrollment team can connect you with alumni who are happy to speak to you.
And to that, Alana, I would also add that as a university, we are a special purpose, so designed to be different from all the other universities. Yes. So very different in our teaching and learning model, very different in the kinds of courses we offer. So when we are thinking of MGM, it is one program among many at Royal Roads that are very, very unique in the academic landscape. And that is another reason why employers really encourage and appreciate Royal Roads alumni and graduates for some of the reasons that Nic has mentioned, and some that we've been talking about, the rigor, the academic rigor. You know that when you're getting a Royal Roads student, they can work hard, they can read quickly, they can perform in teams, they can perform remotely, and that's what employers are looking for. The learning and teaching outcomes that we talked about, those are the things employers are looking for, and that's what sets us apart in professional circles as opposed to the university ranking space.
Okay. Here is a good question. Any chance to make a career in supply chain? I'm sure there has been some folks who've gone through the program who've entered that area specifically through a research project or a certificate course.
That is such an excellent question, Suhas. And yes, we do. So a lot of students that want to pursue supply chain management, it is one of the premier courses offered in the final quarter of your MGM program. You could pursue this in a couple of avenues. You could do a research project and go deeper into it, or you could take one of the course-based or grad cert-based options as a completion option. So sometimes project management is aligned because there's a lot of synergies there, but also we have an arrangement with MIT and their supply chain program to give credit to some of the courses that they're offering to specialize even further. Yeah, we have a lot of interest in supply chain and do good on that. It's a very international thing, right? Yeah, so good question.
Okay, I'm going to be going through questions now because the number of them I do see that we have gone through the presentation, so I'm going to assume that you got it answered, but I will grab a few that we haven't. So I do automatically get the CITP designation, or do I automatically get the CITP designation after graduating from the MGM program? Maybe that was the FIT?
Yes, the FIT designation.
Mm-hmm.
No, it is not automatic. It is an application process. So the CITP designation requires an academic component, some coursework, a project, and experience. So those three have to come into a combination. So what the MGM does for you is can speed up the process because the CITP recognizes the MGM as meeting the academic requirements for that designation. So you will still have to go through the there's a test or a project that you have to submit, and some work experience has to be met. Some experience has to be met for that designation to be achieved.
Great. And then the next question that I have is, how many days a week would I be in classes if I'm in the 18-month program?
Yeah, I'm just sending an answer to that. So every course, you're synchronous at least one class per week, 2 to 3 hours per week, and then asynchronous, so online activities in addition. Yeah.
And then a question regarding for the May 2021 intake, will there be, like considering COVID, will it be online or on Canada? Do we have that information at this point, or is that still?
No, we don't have a decision yet. We're very much at the mercy of COVID, Health Canada, IRCC, all those guidelines. But I know executive are hoping to have something out before, in the late fall here. So stay tuned on that. But we are, the main message is we are proceeding. We are not stopping.
Great. Would you have, any of you happen to know if there's childcare options close to campus for international students with toddlers? Do you know of people who've done, had that scenario?
Gee whiz, I don't know that. Tim, do you know that?
Yes, we've had several people with young children and single parents that have gone through. I can attest that it is not an easy balance, but there are spaces. It's a childcare in Canada and in Victoria specifically is not easy, even for us of a young child, and it was very, very difficult to get a spot for her in daycare. So, but there are ways around the program. So as we talked about, maybe reduced course load, taking fewer courses at a time as opposed to the full 3 courses. So there are ways to make sure that you're there for your family as well as taking away the program highlights.
Great. Okay, I have some questions about the internship. Is it the student's responsibility to find their own internship, or is there a pool of companies within RAU? And does the internship period last in the 18-month, 12-month length of the program, or is it additional? Like, is it embedded, I guess?
So students are responsible for gaining their own internships, and so, working your network and working with the career advisors throughout the program. We start the career prep program halfway through, so getting everybody ready. What's interesting during COVID is a lot of our students have been working part-time or even full-time if they're in essential services, and they were able to design applied research projects and get internships through their existing employers too. But I think the main thing is to be strategic and about what your long-term career objectives are, and we will help you with that part.
Okay. All right, so we're at 10:05. A number of these questions are great questions to be answered by our wonderful enrollment team. So I'm just going to ask Tracy and Kelsey if you can just pipe into the chat box again, just putting your email in the chat box one more time, and then people can reach out to you with their more personalized questions. But I also want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you so much, Nic, for joining us today. It was wonderful to have you here. And thank you, Deb. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Kelsey. Thank you, Tracy. And thank you, Selena. We really appreciate getting to join people who are interested in becoming part of the Royal Roads community. And we will continue to support you throughout this process. So we look forward to connecting in various ways. So I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thank you all. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Nick.
Nic. That was awesome. Love your story.
Okay, take care.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.